2.5 years since the launch of the PlayStation 4, and finally we've got a baseball game from Konami on the system. This is Power Pros 2016, and as you can see by the crazy characters to the right of the tile, most of this game is written in Japanese. Now that's actually not that big of a deal thanks to two tools. There's the website powerprotranslations.com, and then there's the application Google Translate that you can get for your iOS or Android phone. And both of those combined actually make this pretty easy to navigate if all you want to do is play the exhibition mode and play the season mode. Today I'm just going to show you how to play the exhibition mode, which is usually what I recommend doing when you're starting out. Just get a feel for the game, get a feel for the settings, and try to get the settings to the point where you're getting a good challenge from the computer and the games are close and could go either way. So I'm not going to go into the settings too much in this video. I'll save that for another day. But I want to show you at least how to get into the exhibition mode and make sure you understand everything that's in all of those menus. So right off the bat, the first thing you're going to notice with this game, like most Japanese games, in the menus, the circle button accepts and the X button rejects and makes you go back. So we're going to hit the circle button, and that'll take us into the main menu. And the first thing it does every time you boot up the game is it asks you if you want to check and see if there's been an update. The first option will decline. If you go to the left, it'll accept. And then it will take you to a really long end-user license agreement that we don't need to read. I'll just scroll down a little bit, and then again you go to the left to accept. And the next page is going to show you basically the date of the most recent update. You can see it's May the 2nd. Then I believe it's probably got some patch notes, but there's no reason to read any of that stuff. So again, we'll just hit the circle button. And now that our game's up to date, you see that that live yellow circle has popped up on a couple modes. All that is these modes have leaderboards, and you can upload your characters, upload your scores from those modes. So we're not going to worry about any of those. We want to focus on exhibition for this video, and that's in the upper left hand corner every time. It's just loading up our settings, and then on the first page we've got the different ways we can play. First option is going to be you controlling the entire team going against the computer. Second option is going to be you controlling just one player, kind of like MLB The Show player lock. And it also has that camera where it's behind the shoulder and the camera spins around a lot. So I'm not a fan of playing that, but I know some people really love it. The third option is going to be your versus mode. This is local versus. It's only 2-player, not 3 or 4-player, and there's no way to play co-op that I could find. So just 1 versus 2 head-to-head. Next option we got is manager mode. This is kind of like the NFL head coach game, if anybody remembers that one. You're watching the game, but you're also giving instructions to your team, telling them how you'd like them to approach the at-bat, telling them how you'd like them to pitch, how to play defense, all that stuff. And the last option is a spectator mode, where you're not given any commands, you're just watching the computer play each other. And that's going to be it for this first screen, so we'll go ahead and we'll go into the 1-player versus the computer and the team mode. And now it's going to ask us what difficulty we'd like to play on. The top one is going to load your settings that you've saved in the main menu. The next one is the easiest difficulty. This is just the default difficulty that has timing hitting, where all you're looking to do is time your swings. There's no cursor or anything. The next one's going to be cursor hitting, but it's still pretty easy. And then the bottom one is just a harder version of the cursor hitting. But I really don't recommend using these three. The best thing to do is set up your options in the main menu and just go with that. And it's the same thing for the computer. The top one is going to use your settings from the main menu. Then as we scroll down, this is the easiest computer difficulty. This is a little bit harder. This is the medium difficulty. This is the hardest one at the very bottom, and then kind of the in-between. So you really just want to ignore these and use your settings that you've got in the main menu. On the team select screen, it's split into the 2 different divisions. You've got the Pacific League on the top, and to the far right is the Pacific All-Stars. Then Central League on the bottom, with the Central All-Stars on the far right. Down here below that, you've got, these are where all your saved created teams appear. And you can use as many as you want in exhibition mode, But if you go into the season mode, you can only take 4 of these created teams into your season mode. I'll show you the difference real quick just between the normal BayStars and the edited BayStars team that I have. You see that with the normal BayStars over there on the left, all of their names are in Japanese symbols by default. However, you can edit that if you go into the edit mode, and then you can change all the names where they display with English font. Makes it a lot easier to see, figure out who's who, and kind of get a better familiarity with your lineup, so you start to know what kind of ratings they have, what kind of player abilities they have. But definitely recommend editing at least 1 or 2 teams if you're only going to play exhibition mode. And then once you get into the season mode, from within season mode there's an editor that allows you to change all of these teams, all 12 of them. But you can only do that within season mode, because season mode only lets you bring in 4 created teams at a time. The only other thing we really need to show on this team select screen is the top left corner. That's just some at a glance ratings for the teams. Top to bottom, you've got offense on the very top. The second option is base running / stealing. Third option is pitching, and the fourth one is your defense rating. So that's just kind of at a glance. If you're not familiar with these teams and you want to see what their strengths and weaknesses are, we'll go with BayStars versus the Dragons. And now it's going to ask us if we want to use designated hitter. It defaults to on. I like to play with it on. All you got to do is press the circle button to toggle between that. The one in the middle is going to be your home and away toggle. By default, it starts you out as the away team. Just press it once and boom, you're going to be the home team, or you can switch it back. Let's go with the away team. Now we've got uniforms, only 3 for the BayStars. I believe the Dragons have 4. Now we're on to the stadium select, and again it's got it split up into 2 rows. However, this one right here is the BayStars home field. You'll notice it's in a different location than they were on the team select. So the stadiums aren't in the same position as they were on the team select screen. As you go through most of these, you'll see that they're pretty much symmetrical for the most part, with the left field and right field distances, except for this Mazda Stadium, just a 1 meter difference, no big deal there. Then if we're on an outdoor stadium, there's 3 weather patterns you can pick from. You've got the sunny, you've got the rainy, and then the cloudy. That's toggled through with the square button. And then if we hit the triangle button, then that's going to toggle between the night and day. It also has night and day available as an option on domes, but I'm not sure if it actually makes a difference. I haven't really noticed. And in addition to the NPB stadiums, there's some on the far right side. You've got just some created stadiums, fictional ones that they've made up. I'm guessing most of these are used in the success mode, but you can also use them just in the exhibition mode. Let's go with the BayStars Stadium. And this is our pre-game screen. The top one is going to take you right into the game, so we don't want to do that just yet. Right below that, we've got the lineup editor. And what you're seeing on this screen is you've got on the far left, that's your starting lineup. On the top right, that's going to be all your hitters and pitchers that are available for that game. And then if we go into this is going to be our starting pitcher on the top. And then these next 2 screens are going to be the pitchers I have available for the game. You might think that this would be split into like relievers in the middle and closers in the bottom, but that's not how it's set up. It's actually, these pitchers are all just kind of mixed together. And then in the middle portion, those are the ones that have good energy, and then the ones on the bottom ones are the ones that have low energy, they're resting. It doesn't really matter much for exhibition, but in a season mode, it still uses the same menu. And so in the bottom in season mode, these would be your guys that you just used in the previous game and they're tired. Now on the far right column, these are your minor leaguers that you can call up. It doesn't matter in an exhibition game, but if you're in season mode and you call one of these guys up, somebody's got to go down when they go up. And there's a waiting period to bring them back up once they're sent to the minor league. So you got to be kind of careful with bringing guys up and sending them down. You don't want too many people stuck in that waiting period. So Eno is going to be our starter for the day. And how to tell, who's a starter, who's a reliever, who's a closer. Easiest way, just hit the triangle button, bring up that player card screen, and right below, top left corner, below his jersey number 15, that's the box that tells you what kind of pitcher he is. He's got the symbol that looks like the Atlanta Braves A, with the hammer through the top. That's the symbol for starter. The other symbol he has, it's a little smaller and not as bold on the font. That's the symbol for reliever. It's got that rectangle with the line down the middle. And when the symbol is smaller and not as bright in the font, it means that he's not as good in that role. So Ino is going to be best as a starter. Another way that we can tell if somebody's a starter or not is by looking at the stamina rating. And as you go through, below the position indicators, you've got the 152, that's his fastball speed in kilometers per hour. The one below that, the D55, that's his control rating. And then below that is the stamina rating, the B78. So you can see why he's a starter. He's got good stamina. As I look at some of these other guys, you'll see they're in the 40s. Let's see, this guy's in the 60s, so he could be a starter, though he wouldn't have great stamina for a starter. Here's a guy who does have really good stamina, 80 stamina, so he would be a nice starter. But if I look at the little face that he's got, the yellow neutral face, that's called the player condition, and it's a modifier to their base attributes. If it's yellow, it's neutral. It means there's no modifier that day. If it's blue, that's a slightly negative impact to the ratings. If it's purple, that's the worst rating possible. That's a bad impact to the ratings. Red, like Ino has, this is a slight increase to the ratings. And then there's a pink, which is the best condition you can be in. Gives you the highest boost for that particular day. So we definitely want to go with Ino as our starter. We look at some other things on his player card. Below the stamina rating, you see the red, yellow, and orange gradients. Those are the amount of break he has on his different pitches, and only the pitches that have the gradient on it are ones he has available. So the up one is almost always a fastball, and looks like he just has one fastball. Sometimes you'll see guys that have two fastballs. To the right and to the left are usually sliders, and looks like he's got a 2-break slider. The diagonal down, those are usually some kind of curveball. Looks like he's got a 1-break curveball. And then the down pitch is usually either a splitter or a changeup. Looks like that's going to be his best pitch. Looks like, because he's got three tick marks on that. Also a really good fastball at that 152 kilometers an hour. To the right of all that information is where you have the player abilities. And there's 3 conditions on these. They can either be blue, like that one on the top left with the A, that one's blue. Or they can be neutral, which is all of the other ones in the middle portion. And if it's neutral, there's no impact. And then on the bottom left, you see that one is red. And then that one is a negative impact to the abilities. Off the top of my head, I don't recognize that red one. I'd have to look it up. There's a full list of these, all the abilities available on PowerProTranslations.com. Definitely go there and have a look over those and try to familiarize yourself with, which players have which abilities on your team. I believe that's pretty much it for the pitchers. Nothing else to show here. So let's go ahead and let's look at the hitter screen. It's going to be pretty similar. You see we've got our starting lineup on the left, and then in the middle, this is our bench for this particular game. Far right is our minor leaguers that we can call up. First thing we'll talk about is the position. So I'll go through the symbols real quick. On the first guy I've got highlighted, he's an outfielder. And you can tell that because he has the green color, but also the symbol he has with that sideways H, that's going to be your left field symbol. The other outfield ones, again in green, the one with the rectangle, and that's going to be your right fielder, Kajitani. And then the one with the rectangle and the line down the middle is your center fielder, Aranami. And the way the outfield works in this game is if you have a guy who can play the outfield, he can play anywhere. It's not like MLB The Show, where you have guys that can only play left field and right field, or guys that can only play center field. If you can play the outfield in this game, you can play any of the 3 positions. Going through the infield, if you see 1 line, that's first base, 2 lines is second base, 3 lines is third base. The fancy yellow symbol is shortstop, fancy blue symbol is catcher, and fancy red symbol is pitcher. Now with these guys who have multiple colors in their names, like Kajitani, that means that they can play either infield or outfield, but the infield is not like the outfield. You have only a couple positions you can play in the infield in most cases. Like let's look at Romac, and you'll see again, going underneath that 52 number in the top left corner, that's the position area. He's got the 3 bars for third base, the 1 bar for first base, and he has that fancy symbol for outfield. But he doesn't have second base, he doesn't have shortstop. So even though he's a yellow color, he can't play all the positions in the infield. Another way to tell like which positions you should put people at is if you hit the touchpad, you'll see on the right side of the screen it's got the letter grades next to the positions that he can play. And he's going to be best at third base, but one reason I don't have Romak at third base is because if I press the triangle button and I look at his player abilities, the one on the second row that's an F, that player ability means that he's a bad thrower. So that's why I have him playing first base instead of third base, is because he can't throw the ball at all. So that's pretty much everything you need to know about the positions. Let's go into the attribute ratings. And starting with again, right below on the left side of the page, right below where the position box is, we've got that arrow pointing up with a number next to it. That's the hitting trajectory of the player. It's rated on a scale from 1 to 4, and the higher the number, the more likely that you're going to hit fly balls. So like 1, a rating of 1 means you're probably going to hit a lot of grounders. A rating of 2 means that you're probably going to hit a lot of line drives. 3, you'll probably hit some fly balls with a little bit of home run power. And then 4, that's the highest you can be. That means you're a really dangerous threat to hit home runs. Lopez, you see, has 3. Let's see if I can find somebody with a 4. Yeah, my boy Romack, he's got a 4. And another way to tell that somebody's a power hitter, below that trajectory, the second rating, that's a B72, that's your power rating. So this guy's definitely a home run threat. Above that B72 is the contact rating, which for Romack's an E41. And so you can see this guy's really, he's home run or nothing. He's just your basic power hitter. The other ratings, going down below the power rating, the D59, that's going to be his speed rating, so he's not very fast on the bases. Below speed, we've got the arm strength, which is a C66. Again, another reason why I'm playing him at the first base and not the third base. And then on the below the arm strength, you've got the E43. That's going to be defense. The defense rating basically controls how quick and how smooth a person's fielding animations are. It's just about the animations. Below that, you've got the error rating, which is an F22. The lower that rating is, the more likely that you'll see missed balls, and the higher the rating is, the better chance you have of making spectacular plays like dives and leaps, those kind of plays. Let's see if I have a good example. Yeah, I've got my shortstop. You can see he's got a 70 rating for the fielding, so he's going to be able to make a lot of those dives and a lot of those jumps. So the third option is going to be the same thing that I just showed you for my team. I can do the exact same thing for the computer. I can change around their lineup if I want. And you'll see that I don't have this team edited yet, so they still got all the Japanese symbols on their names. The fourth option, this is going to be your game options. This is stuff like changing the number of innings, changing the number of extra innings. If a game happens to go to extra innings, you can actually have it where it ends up a tie, at the ends of a couple innings. So there's other stuff in here that affects like injuries, errors, cutscenes. I won't go into all of this. I'll maybe save this for a later video just because it gets kind of complex. That's your game options. And then the fifth one is your control settings. Again, this is something that you want to set in the main menu. You don't want to set it in here because it will only apply for this game and then it will reset. So again, we'll go into all of that in another video. The very bottom option, this is going to be the quick play settings. And the top one, if we turn this on, this is just going to allow us to pick an inning to start the game in, and then it will simulate all innings prior to when we select. So we want to start the game in the 7th inning, just click on that, and then boom, we're ready to go. Anytime you want to erase this stuff, you just hit the top option and hit erase. Option number 2, this is going to be if we only want to play specific instances in the game. See, there's a couple different options. This first one is if we only want to play the instances where there's runners in scoring position and we're batting. The second one is if we only want to play the instances where there's runners in scoring position and we're pitching. And then on the very bottom, there's an option where if you want to play with any time that both teams, meaning the computer teams and your team, have runners in scoring position. So that's our options for that. Again, we'll turn it off. This one is if we just want to control one specific pitcher. See all the red guys, that's all my pitchers. And if we have it on by default, that top setting, we'll control him for the entire game. If we change it to the bottom setting, we'll only control him when runners are in scoring positions. Same thing here on this bottom one, except it's going to be for batters this time instead of pitchers. I can play as one batter the entire game if I want. And if I only want to play with him in runners in scoring position, then I'll choose the bottom option. Another way to delete all this stuff, reset it, is to hit this button on the very bottom and it'll delete. All these quick play settings, you can actually change these inside the pause menu of a game. So if you want to start a game playing as the entire team, you can. Play maybe 5 or 6 innings as a whole team. And then let's say you want to play the last couple of innings just as one player, that's something you can do from the pause menu inside a game. The only other thing I want to show on this menu, if you hit the touchpad, you'll see the condition symbols have changed. And now what it's showing me is the throwing hand and the batting hand of each player. The throwing hand is on the left and batting hand is on the right. The different symbols, the blue symbol, that's going to be left-handed, and the red symbol, oh excuse me, I got it backwards there. The blue symbol is right-handed and the red symbol is left-handed. The way you can tell that, again, the sideways H is left, just like it's for left field on Sutsugo. And then the rectangle is right field, just like on my right fielder Kajitani. So again, the blue is right, and then the red is left. You see on the dragons, that guy with the green symbol and the number 6 hitter, that green symbol indicates that he's a switch hitter. So that's everything. Let's go ahead and start a game. And I'll show you the pause menu once you actually get into a game. There's not much that you can do in a pause menu that you can't do on the pre-game menu. On the top left, that's just resume. Bottom left is quit. And the other one on the left, this is our substitution screen. Top option is resume. Down here, this is going to allow me to change pitchers if I want to bring somebody in. I don't believe there's let's see, anything else on this screen I really need to go over. It's pretty much the same information as before. And again, this is our batter screen if we want to substitute a batter. So pretty simple stuff there. Again, these are the quick play options I just finished showing you if you want to use those in the middle of a game. These are our game options. Again, if you change it here, it's only going to apply for this one game. A lot of this stuff is grayed out once you actually get into a game. So again, another reason why you want to set it up beforehand. And then this is the sound options if you want to tweak any of this stuff. I think the game sounds fine by default. I don't see any reason to change this. So that's all there is for exhibition mode. Stay tuned to this channel. I will probably do a video covering the settings. I think that's the next thing I'm going to do. And then after the settings, I'll do a video for season mode. So thanks for watching. And if you want to see a full game, I've got a full game recorded of Dragons vs. BayStars that's already posted to this channel. Ended up being a pretty good game after a slow start. I was playing on a higher difficulty. Took a little while to get used to that new difficulty. But once I did, started getting some hits. And the ending to that game was pretty exciting. So definitely check that out. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.